Please tell us about your role and performance in Aladdin. My role in Aladdin was a dancer in many different scenes. First I was dancing as a villager, then as a piece of washing, then as a jewel, then as someone fighting a dragon, and finally in the finale. I had to dance in many different styles such as ballet, tap, contemporary and jazz. Over the 6 shows, my performance I feel was of a high standard and I was always trying my best. I had to use a lot of facial expressions in this pantomime and there were many different occasions in which I had to change my emotion. I feel like my performance went very well overall. What was your biggest challenge taking on the role and how did you tackle this? My biggest challenge for this role was remembering all the different choreography for all the different dances and where the dances were in the pantomime. Keeping up the energy throughout all 6 performances was a challenge too. However, I tackled these challenges by making sure I went over all of the dances to secure my knowledge on all of the steps. And when it came to my energy, I just knew for it to be a good performance, I had to believe I could do it. Where did you go for inspiration and how did you use this in your performance? For inspiration, I looked up pantomime dance numbers, in particular Aladdin and Cinderella. I noticed how much energy and enthusiasm they had put into their dancing, and from this I knew that I would have to do the same. I used this in my performance by making sure my facial expressions met the style of dance and or scene. I also noticed how sharp and together they were as a group, so it made me think of the counts as I was performing and making sure I was in time with my peers. What did you learn from this process? From this process, I learned that in a short amount of time, a pantomime can be put together and it can look amazing. I also learned that if I believe in myself, I can be the best dancer I can possibly be. Another thing I learned was the comedy behind pantomimes and how positioning the people in a different way can make it seem more funny. I also learned that I love pantomimes as I'd never been in one before. Was there a piece of feedback that stuck with you? How did this move you forward during rehearsals? A piece of feedback that stuck with me would be when Joe said to me about being sharper with my head movements. For example, in the dragon dance, we had to turn our head on a specific count and I wasn't quite hitting it, but when he said this, every time it came to that dance or any other dance where there was a sharp head movement, I thought about it being sharper and keeping it on the count. Another piece of feedback that stuck with me was using my face and remembering to smile in the happier dances and not to worry about thinking about the choreography. Do you have any top tips for other aspiring performers? My top tips would be to not get stressed when performing because everything will work out how it's supposed to. Remember that you're performing because it's what you love to do. Always keep thinking about your character and your role so you can portray them to the best of your ability. And make sure that facial expressions match whatever mood the scene or dances.